Howdy gamers, I'm going to explain what runes I think you should run on Skarner given his current situation with how he is as a champion in Season 10 versus how he was in the prior seasons, and with the current state of jungle and the changes to the Season 10 jungle. Starting off with the Keystones, the major keystone for Skarner in the past seasons was Predator, and the reason it worked so well in the last season was because you were able to spam ganks, and then whenever the ganks would work out, it'd be very profitable for you and your team. And then come team fights, your job would stay one and the same of using Predator to get in range to flash pull a carry. With the changes to Season 10, the jungle has changed so that the camps don't rubber band. So whenever you go for a gank and it doesn't work out, it's more brutal because you're not getting catch-up XP from the jungle in the same way that you were, or to the same degree that you were in Season 9. In Season 10 as well, solo lanes get more XP. So you're going to be ganking stronger champions, and then they're going to be outscaling you at a much more rapid pace. If you're coming into the mid game without successful ganks and you're running Predator on Skarner, you're going to get one shot by absolutely in everything, even if you have tank items. So it's really a huge coin flip rune compared to what it used to be, because it used to be pretty consistent, as even if your ganks weren't successful, you had the catch up XP from the jungle, and the solo lane champions just didn't scale as hard. In Season 10, that's not the case. So I really do think that the only useful rune for Skarner for his Keystone is going to be Conquer. The reason being is that it offers him bonus AD that you otherwise don't get, and then changes his functionality from this champion that turbo spams ganks to one that farms his jungle and then looks to skirmish in the enemy jungle once he's captured the spires, or looks to fight around objectives. So it's a lot about fighting around his spires and where he has control in. And then Conquer is going to help you do that. And with Skarner as well, he has a percentage AD ratio on his Q. And then with Conquer, the bonus AD is also going to be giving you more damage on your autos. So your Q and autos are effectively always up. And then both of them in combination just gives you a lot more damage once you're on top of a target. Other Keystones would achieve about the same thing. But Conquer just does it better because it's giving you that attack damage. Something like Press the Attack is okay, but is better suited on more supportive junglers like Trundle. Something like Omnistone is okay, as you get access to a lot of keystones, but then through having multiple keystones, even if you get two off in a fight, you don't get to pick and choose them, and their usefulness varies, therefore just creating this variance that's not really useful. If you get one Glacial Augment proc and then a Grasp proc in an all-in, why would you want that instead of just a full Conquer stack? Omnistone works, don't get me wrong, but Conquer, the utility in it becomes a lot higher. Unsealed Spellbook also wouldn't be that bad, as Unsealed Spellbook would give you access to summoner spells, and then the rune page with it would also be pretty good. With Unsealed Spellbook though, you function as like a worse version of like an Ornn in the jungle, or like a Singed in the top lane. If you're looking to play a more utility style though, Unsealed Spellbook would be completely fine, as having access to extra summoner spells is going to help you get onto targets, and then also help your team more with summoner spells like Heal and Exhaust, and even through the utility in Ghost and Barrier in combination with Nimbus Cloak. So I think that's completely fine. But the main rune page again that I want to talk about is going to be Conquer. So back to Conquer. Basic attacks and spells that deal damage to enemy champions grant you 2 stacks of Conquer for 6 seconds. The adaptive force that you gain is based on your level, so it does cap out come mid-game, since you're going to be getting less levels mid-game as jungle, most commonly, and then you still have some scaling with it, as once you get levels into the late game, that comes into play without having to have any extra income behind it. The bonus AD, again, goes pretty far for Skarner if you're playing around his spires, as you're going to get bonus attack speed from your passive, and then you also have a percentage AD increase on Skarner's Q. So it opens up your build path options, and then also accelerates it because of the bonus AD offered. So I think it just works so well for him, and really is the only thing that Skarner really has going for him is the skirmishing around the spires. And then once Conquer is fully stacked, you heal for 15% of the damage that you deal. That's kind of just whatever for Skarner. It's going to give you maybe 100 extra HP in the duration of an all-in. Since you have AoE abilities, it can be more impactful, but it's kind of whatever. For the secondary rune in the precision tree, your only good option really is Triumph. with Triumph, takedowns restore 12% of your missing health and grant you additional 20 gold. You don't need Overheal as you don't heal enough. Like Overheal is basically a laning tool with the shield that it offers, and Skarner just doesn't make any use of that in the jungle. With Presence of Mind, takedowns restore 20% of your maximum mana and then permanently increase your maximum mana by 500. You don't need this either, as if you're going to get mana, it's going to be through building Sheen of one of the 2 build paths, and then you're not going to run out of mana with Skarner. If you are, there's something wrong with the way that you're playing. I really don't understand how you could possibly run out of mana with this champion if you have the Spire captured. And yeah, even if you're spamming everything, I really don't see how you run out of mana. So with Triumphs, again, takedowns restore 12% of your missing health. It just gives you more HP to play with as you're spending your HP as your main resource on Skarner. So whenever you get a kill or assist, even if you like get it kind of like an ambient assist where your AoE would be landing on a target, it's still really, really useful. It's really useful in your 1v1 and then really, really useful in your 2v2s and 3v3s, which is what you want to be looking to participate in as Skarner, as all you really have going for you is your skirmishes. For the 3rd rune, you have good options in Alacrity or Legend Tenacity. With Legend Tenacity, you get the ability to obviously withstand some CC, and that goes pretty far, as it's really important for Skarner to stick onto his target. You're going to get enough attack speed from the passive and through the Spires that I don't think you really need Legend Alacrity. But Legend Alacrity is completely fine if you're not playing against any CC at all. So if you're just playing against like 3 Bruiser champions, sure, just run Alacrity, as the extra DPS from the extra auto attacks would make more sense versus Tenacity against no CC comps. Legend Bloodline I don't think is really that necessary, as the lifesteal offered wouldn't really outweigh the attack speed or the Tenacity. So defaultly I would take Tenacity, but in the matchups that you can, I think Alacrity is completely fine. With the 4th rune, you're really choosing how you get your percentage damage increase. Coup de Grace, you're dealing more damage to champions who are lower than you. Cut Down, you're getting more percentage damage against targets with more maximum health than you, so that's not too useful for Skarner. And then with Last Stand, you deal more damage based on how much health that you're missing. I think for Skarner, Coup de Grace is completely fine, as you deal 8% more damage to champions who have less than 40% health. It's really easy for Skarner to burst targets, but it's harder for him to finish them off. With Coup de Grace, whenever you get this 8% increase, Skarner has a lot of ways to proc this, or to get that 8% increase on the damage that is meaningful. So you can be amplifying the damage on your Q and your auto attacks. And with that, it will help you finish off a target as you have the extra damage to do so. With Last Stand, there's champions that just use this better. More so champions that have like extra healing in their kit, mainly just bruisers in League of Legends, and mostly solo lanes. Champions like Darius, Irelia, etc., where even if they're low, they still have abilities to heal and then stay in the fight, and then through doing so, they're surviving even longer. But with Skarner, it's more about bursting the target and then like just dogging them down with the damage, and Coup de Grace is going to help you do that. Skarner's damage really functions like pretty similar to an ADC's, just in melee form, so Coup de Grace works pretty well on him. For the secondary runes, I really think that your only options are Nimbus Cloak and then like Celerity. You could also run Nimbus Cloak and Water Walking. The importance of Nimbus Cloak on Skarner is so high, as with any jungler, you make really easy use out of it because of your smite. With Nimbus Cloak, after you cast a summer spell, you gain a movement speed increase that lasts for 2.5 seconds and allows you to pass your units. The movement speed increase is based on the cooldown of the summer spell that you cast, so the longer the cooldown of the summer spell, the higher the movement speed increase. With Skarner, it's so important that you stay on the target that you're hitting, or to get on the target that you flash on. And with that, with the movement speed increase, it helps you in an ideal scenario where you're flashing onto a target. It helps you get in range of them, actually ult them, and then the extra movement speed is going to help you pull them into your team or just further away from a tower or something. In a neutral situation, the blue smite is going to help you get onto a target, and then once you're on top of them, it lines up your E perfectly. It just can't miss. And then the extra movement speed helps you get past them, so the more range you have past them, the more damage you can have on them, as they can't get away from you and therefore out of the range of your Q and your auto attacks. So you're effectively just getting a lot more damage with Nimbus Cloak. The defensive utility in it is also okay, as with Skarner you don't have an escape, but if you blue smite a target that's on top of you, you're going to get extra movement speed, so then you can probably run away from them. With Celerity, all movement speed bonuses are 7% more effective, and you gain an extra 1% movement speed. This is also really nice in combination with Nimbus Cloak, but Celerity is more so whenever you've spent Nimbus Cloak. So you're going to get bonus movement speed whenever you damage a champion that's stunned with your E, or whenever you've ulted. And then also you get extra movement speed whenever you're around your spires, I think. And you also get bonus movement speed with the W. So all of that in combination is just going to help you stay onto your targets and then actually be useful in a fight, as Skarner's so low range and it's so important to actually be able to stay on top and then actually like a little bit past an enemy champion that you're top on, near, whatever, man, near, and then to stay on them means that you can get more damage. Something like water walking's fine, but I think Celerity does what it wants to do, even in the jungle versus just in the river, as Skarner can fight in the jungle and then also in the river because of the spires. But water walking's completely fine if you're playing into a matchup in which you would win a scuttle skirmish or would be constantly fighting around objectives. You can consider running water walking over Celerity. But I think you always want Nimbus Cloak. Anything else in the secondary tree like doesn't even come close. You could go like Free Boots, Cosmic Insight. That's 300 gold saved and a little bit of CDR in exchange for movement speed that's literally going to change the way that like Skarner functions as a champion. You could also go like Cheap Shot and Ultimate Hunter. Having like 4 seconds off your ult is cool, and then dealing a little bit of true damage is cool, but if you're not staying on a target, none of that matters. So I think you're really best off getting the damage from Conqueror and then Coup de Grace versus like Cheap Shot, and then the movement speed is the most important thing for Skarner that you can get from the runes. Everything else can be purchased through items versus the utility that you can get from getting them through runes. It's just better done through items. For the adaptive runes, I think it's always going to be attack speed, adaptive force, and then armor. I don't think that ever changes. The attack speed helping you clear faster, helping you DPS whenever you're on top of a target. Adaptive force doing about the same, giving you more damage on your auto attacks and your Q. And then the armor helping you tank camps early. So yeah, I think this should be that's why I think this is the primary page for Skarner, given the changes to the jungle in Season 10 and how like his scaling just works now. Because really, man, if you're running something like Predator and the ganks just don't work out, even if they do work out, you're getting outscaled. Just how the game goes now. So getting a lot of stats from the runes and then a lot of utility in the extra movement speed goes a lot further than a little bit of movement speed on a gank or with an engage onto a champion with Predator. And then with the nature of how the game goes now, I also think that that's more emphasized. I don't think Unsealed Spellbook is terrible on Skarner. With it, again, you get access to multiple summoner spells in the early game. Your first swap at 6 minutes is probably going to be for teleport after you've just been full clearing usually. You would trade off a lot of your skirmishing power for a lot of utility in team fights and just in like general map presence, because that's what Unsealed Spellbook offers you. You would still have the same secondary runes, but you'd be missing out on damage from Conqueror and from Coup de Grace with this, in exchange for a bit of utility, which is completely fine for Skarner. So I suppose Emax into Wmax would be better with Unsealed Spellbook, and then the Qmax with Conqueror would probably be better for skirmishing. And then with Unsealed Spellbook, you're in the Inspiration Tree, so you have good options in Hextech Flash, Magical Footwear. I think Magical Footwear would be completely fine. I don't think you need the boots that early, and saving it is completely fine. And then for the third rune, I suppose Biscuits, as you're going to get extra mana and then a little bit of gold you can also get from this rune. And then I would suppose Cosmic Insight, since you're really gated by your E and W cooldown if you were to play this more utility style. Approach Velocity is okay, but not really necessary, as you're not slowing a target with the E. You are, but you're basically just flashing onto them with the E. So it's not so much about getting extra movement speed to a target that's slowed, compared to the way that other champions could use it. And then with Unsealed Spellbook, it gives you extra functionality in Nimbus Cloak, as whenever you get access to the other summoner spells, whether you're teleporting using Ghost, Heal, Cleanse, Clarity, Ignite, Smite, any of these, like, you're going to get the extra movement speed from Nimbus Cloak whenever you use those summoner spells. And then that's really where your extra utility comes in, especially in a team fight. It gives you more maneuverability and makes Skarner a more defensive champion in this sense, as if the enemy dives into your team and you have an exhausting Knight and a Skarner ult, it makes things really awkward for them. And then if you want to engage onto them, you just swap to Ghost, and then not only do you get the extra movement speed from Ghost, but you also have the Nimbus Cloak to run at them. So same utility from the secondary tree, but you get, again, more utility through having access to the summoner spells. The shards wouldn't change, in my opinion. The reason I don't think that you would run something like Aftershock is because I think you would really function like a terrible version of Sejuani or Ornn or any of those champions. Even though you can get a lot of durability from the resolve tree here, it doesn't go that far for Skarner because Skarner doesn't have like as good of base damage on his abilities compared to other tank junglers. Like think about Zax, think about Sejuani, think about Trundle. All those champions can deal a good amount of damage while running Aftershock, and maybe not Trundle, but like Skarner just doesn't. He has these AD scalings, he has AP scalings. And with those, if they're not being abused, then he just doesn't make as good use of stats as other champions. The stats being armor, magic resist. So yes, this page would be okay. But would it outweigh what Conqueror would offer him in skirmishing potential? No. Would it outweigh the utility offered from Unsealed Spellbook? No. What it would offer you is a bit of utility for mispositioning or running into the enemy team. It would help you survive in those situations, but then there's no utility in that. So I view Aftershock as like a band-aid for bad play on Skarner compared to other tank junglers. It's just a lot of things wasted. You have to land the E to proc Aftershock. It also has anti-synergy with your ult because you're ulting and then that target's suppressed, but then you've procced Aftershock. It's really, really weird. Shield bash damage is kind of negligible. It's better used as a laning tool than it would be a rune for a jungler. You get armor and magic resist at 10 minutes. That's fine. You get health basically for existing in the game. That's fine. To exchange all of that, though, I don't feel is worth. So that's my thoughts on Skarner runes. I think they're really, really weird for now. I didn't mention top Skarner on purpose, as I just don't know. There's players that main that champion that you're better off getting their opinion on it. But I've been thinking about Skarner for about 2 days now, as I was like, what happened to this champion? Like, really, what happened to it? As he was a really cool jungler with Predator, and he just fell off the face of the earth, and that's why he just can't scale with that. And if you were to run that in Season 10 now, it just doesn't work out. So yeah, that's the runes that I think you should run in Season 10 with Skarner. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If this video helped you, leaving a like on the video helps me. You could also subscribe. Really close to 1,000 subscribers. On the 1,000 subscribers milestone, I'm going to do a video in which I stand up, so stay tuned for that. And you can check out my Twitch. It's twitch.tv/SorryNelson. Links in the description. I don't play Skarner. What's up, dude? I don't play Skarner. Check it out.